Have you ever asked yourself why we follow so many rules without even knowing where they came from? Why do you sit in certain places, talk a certain way, dress a specific way, all without ever stopping to think, did I really choose this? We live inside an invisible system, not made of laws, but of expectations. They're social norms no one directly taught you. You learned them by osmosis, watching, listening, copying, since you were a kid. And the weirdest part? No one really knows who invented these rules. Yet everyone obeys them. We apologize for things that aren't our fault. We smile when we don't want to. We say, I'm fine when everything is falling apart. Why? Because it's easier to go with the flow than to be the odd one out. Safer to obey than to be the one who questions. So we adapt. We fit in. We shapeshift. Until one day, we don't even know who we are anymore. We only know what others expect us to be. I realized this in a really simple way. I was standing in a line, that typical moment where no one talks. Everyone's on their phones, avoiding eye contact. And I thought, what if I started a conversation? Instantly, my body tensed with anxiety. Just the idea of breaking that programmed silence. It felt like something terrible would happen, but why? That's when it hit me. It's not real fear. It's social fear. Fear of being weird, of bothering someone, of stepping outside the role I was given. And here's the real issue. When you're afraid of being yourself, you're not really living. You're performing. And the stage is the entire world. You step into an elevator and stare at the floor. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You say yes when you mean no, not because you want to, but because you learned that's just how it's done. But what if it's not? What if you don't need to follow these tiny rules? What if breaking them is exactly what you need to reconnect with yourself? That's what I started to test. Tiny rule breaks, nothing extreme, just enough to feel the discomfort and push through it. I started saying no instead of maybe, stopped laughing just to be polite, sat in silence instead of filling every second with empty words. And guess what happened? Nothing. The world didn't collapse. No one hated me. I just felt more real, because deep down, following these rules is a way to stay safe. But it's also a way to stay hidden. And when you hide too long, you lose yourself. You start living on autopilot, doing things without knowing why, following paths that were never really yours. The truth is, most of these social rules came from convenience, to keep things orderly, to avoid conflict, but that doesn't mean they're good for you. Some of them trap you, silence you, make you smaller. And when you question them, it looks like you're being rebellious. But maybe you're just waking up. Because there's a huge difference between being polite and being submissive, between respecting others and erasing yourself. And no one will tell you when you've crossed that line. You have to notice it. So here's a challenge. Look at your day, your behavior, and ask yourself, what rules am I following just because I'm afraid of being judged? You might realize that 90% of what you do is just repetition. And repetition without awareness becomes a prison. You don't have to break every social rule, but you do need to know which ones serve you and which ones don't. Freedom begins when you start choosing, truly choosing, consciously. And sometimes choosing is as simple as stopping, observing, and asking, why am I doing this? That question might feel small, but it changes everything. Because when you understand why, you do what you do, you take back control. And when you take back control, you start to actually live. Live without needing everyone's approval. Live without the fear of invisible judgment. Live with honesty. And the most beautiful part? When you start breaking these tiny rules, other people feel freer to do it too. You become a permission slip. Someone who shows, just by being real, that it's okay to live differently. And that creates a ripple effect. One way or another, the world shifts with you. But it all begins with a choice. The choice to stop obeying on autopilot, to stop chasing approval, to stop playing the role and start being the person. You don't need to shock the world. You don't have to be extreme. You just need to be honest. Honest enough to say, this doesn't feel right for me. And strong enough to live your truth, even when it makes people uncomfortable. So next time you feel that urge to follow the script, Pause, breathe, and ask, who made this rule, and why am I still obeying it? Sometimes the only thing between you and a more honest, more free, more alive version of yourself is one question, and the courage to listen to the answer. If this video spoke to you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Let's rewrite the script, one honest choice at a time.